Morning, Brian.
Good morning, Paula.
How are you today?
If I was doing any better, I'd be worried.
I love when we start off like that because then I know it's going to be good. All right. So, topic today for things that matter with Brian Batter. This idea of do I pay off my debt first or do I focus on my savings? What are
Hmm.
your thoughts?
Well, that's a good question. And first things first, there's no black or white answer. The correct answer is there's going to be a trade off no matter what we do. I don't know the person's circumstances. They might have a lot of money in savings. They could easily wipe out the debt and not have it make a difference. But what we want to talk today about is some fundamental principles. And that principle is built on something called the compounding effect of interest, which we'll address in another video. We've addressed the rule of 72. But in this thought, what we really want a person to grasp is that their most valuable asset is time. All right. Time. See, because you can make money, you can lose money, and you can make the money back again, but you can never get back lost time. And so we're going to use a very simple example using a financial calculator that shows if someone saved $500 a month for the next 30 years and they just average a 10% rate of return, that's what the S&P 500 with the dividends reinvested has done roughly for the past 90 odd years. And we'll start with nothing. That would mean we'd end up with $1.1 million. All right. Okay, but let's say I wanted to pay off my debt first. Maybe it's my student loans, my car loans, or whatever it is. And that was going to take me 5 years to do that. And then I start saving. All right, well, I'm not actually saving for 30 years at that point. I'm saving for 25, and that's $300. I'm sorry, 300 months, excuse me. So instead of 30 years is 25 years. And personally, well, it's only 5 years. That's all right. I'm still saving the $500 a month that I was spending on my debt before. Well, now instead of the 1.13 million, that 5 years, we only end up with $660,000. That's a $500,000 difference just by focusing on paying off the student loans, the car loans, and the credit cards and not saving for those 5 years. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you, focus on saving money and ignoring your debt, go bankrupt. That's not necessarily good advice. That's not what I would suggest to people. I would encourage them to pay attention to the fact that there's a structural problem with their income. You don't make enough money. And we've got to address that first. Time is your biggest asset. It's not the dollar amount that you're spending on that car or your student loans. It's what it costs you. And in that example, waiting the 5 years to pay off your debt and then start saving actually costs you $500,000. That's really what your education, your car, the boat, that's what it actually costs you.
Wow. Okay. So, I think in addition to the trade-off of this or that, it's also I think this is a really great opportunity to tell people that are in their 20s, like, it's important to start thinking about this long term now because
Yeah.
getting from your 20s to your 30s to your 40s, your 40s to your 50s, like, there may come a point where it could almost be too late or it will be
Yeah.
too late, and then you're
It'll
in
be
this.
too hard.
Yep, this idea of you're gonna have to adjust your living expenses to match what you've got to retire.
Yeah. You're 100% right. And the last point about this, for those people who are in their 50s or closer to their 60s and they haven't, or they did say, but they had to give it up in a divorce or, business loss or whatever, a medical issue came up. The thought challenge that they have to have, the shift in their thinking, the paradigm shift, if you will, is you got to ask a question. What's likelier? In the next 10 years, is it more likely that I save up $1 million or that I build a business in some capacity, some industry that I have an interest in, that I build a business that provides me an extra $5, $6, $10,000 a month, which is likelier? I save up $1 million with what I'm currently earning, or I generate some additional income and grow that to make my $5, $6, $10,000 a month.
All right. Things that matter with Brian Batter. Looks like we'll have a few follow-up videos from this as well. Thanks, Brian.
The show.